Hello everyone, this is Captain Logan, and I'm going to try streaming one more time this evening. I have been having an impossible time this evening making the Captain Logan show happen, and I don't even know if I'm broadcasting right now. So, if you can see me right now, please leave a comment and let me know. Somebody just said the stream isn't dead, so maybe I'm actually streaming. Maybe you guys can see me. Please confirm that in the comments if you would, and we'll go ahead and attempt the show for whoever is still around. Hey, Noah can see me. Jester Bell can see me. Okay, hi folks. You guys are all really awesome, by the way, for sticking around and jumping in when you saw the alert. You guys are absolutely fantastic. I really, really appreciate you. So, everybody, please bear with me. This is going to be somewhat ghetto-fied, ghetto-rigged this evening. I am going to try to bring DJ back in if he is so inclined. He said if I can make it happen in 5 or 10 minutes, that he would pop back in. So let me just see if he wants to come back. And in the meantime, look, Mutale, I'm not Seth Rogen, okay? I know some people think I look like Seth Rogen, and I get that. Most shows, it still happens, and it's funny. For 10 years, I've gotten that, but I also find that a lot of other people get that also. So, I'm actually going to call DJ right now on the live stream. Let's see if he picks up. Let's see here. Let's find out. And if he can mod, he'll mod, and if not, I will do all my modding myself. DJ, I'm live right now. Everyone can see me on my phone calling you, yeah. So, if you want to pop in on Skype, feel free. People can just see my blank Skype screen right now. Okay, cool. I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, goodbye. Okay, I'm so excited. We're going to have DJ on the show. We're going to answer some questions. I'm going to show you guys some really cool stuff that I got recently. David, that's really funny. Does this count as a video call? Yeah, because on video, I was calling a person. Yeah, I had to reinstall OBS. I had to do all this stuff. It felt like BS. It really did. But anyway, so gonna bring DJ back in, and then we're going to see if we can hear him. This all started with not being able to hear DJ, and then it turned into not being able to broadcast at all, which was just absolutely awful. But, one second. Okay, I had to send Eric something. Okay, so, greetings everybody. I'm going to answer some questions like I always do. No, Kellen, you don't have to resend questions if you sent one earlier. We have a bunch of pre-written ones already ready to go on DJ's end, which is part of why I'm glad that he's going to be able to come back and chat with us. If at any point during the show, of course, you'd like to make sure that your question gets read or your comment gets seen and talked about, you can leave a super chat at any time during the program, and we sure appreciate everybody's, everybody who has ever done that. Your support. The Geekvolution is primarily funded by our viewers, by Patreon and by Super Chats, and it keeps this train chugging along. So you guys are absolutely fantastic. And of course, if you don't want to do that, you can't do that, whatever, we do our level best to get through as many pre-written questions as humanly possible. Do you guys hear that? That is DJ calling me. And let's see if we can make this work here. Okay, so share my screen here for DJ. You guys get to see all the ins and outs behind the scenes. Okay, DJ, say something, buddy.
I'm here.
Here he is.
Can you hear me?
All right, so hopefully you guys can hear DJ, and hopefully there's not too much feedback. Let us know what he sounds like. I'm having to do this without headphones right now for various reasons that I won't even get into, but it has been a really weird night trying to make this work. Okay, everybody can hear DJ. That seems to be working fine. David says there's no sound, but I think he might just be messing with us. Yeah, he might just be David. Okay, cool. So everybody can hear you. We have a show now.
I was downstairs grabbing a bite to eat.
Oh man, did you get to eat anything?
Oh yeah.
Okay, So, greetings everybody. Thanks for watching. 5 minutes in, we're finally getting started. DJ, I can't believe there's as many people still with us as are here. Our audience is just absolutely unbelievable. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate you just popping in. John says that it is a little echoey. I was afraid of that. For whatever reason, if I plug headphones in, it does not pick up his audio. And I don't know why that is. It should be picking up any sounds going through my system, including Skype. That's what was working. That's what was happening the other day. It was fine, but whatever. We'll take what we can get. DJ, I'm not going to mess with any settings at all.
Ever.
Okay. I wanted to start this evening. I'm going to have to go back and find it now because I had to restart my entire machine to do this. So, once again, bear with me. I was so prepared, you guys. I had the most prepared Captain Logan show I've probably ever had tonight. And so, of course, tonight of all nights. I wanted to start by doing a quick plug for the Secret Superhero Screen Society. I'm going to answer a question from the Secret Superhero Screen Society to get us started. And if you would like to join the society, we have a lot of fun there. It's a Facebook group. It's a closed Facebook group specifically for some of our patrons at the $5 level or above. We chat about superhero movies and other stuff, but primarily superhero stuff on screen. And you can chat with me on a daily basis about superhero movies. We have a lot of really lively discussions and debates. It's real civil in there. Everybody is wonderfully kind and friendly and respectful, and we have a great time. So here is tonight's opening question, DJ. I got a good one from Ben Thompson, who says, when it comes to fan service, what do you feel is the line where it stops being fun and then becomes gratuitous? I think I'm doing DJ's job for him. I read the question, and now I'm going to answer the question. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting one. DJ, I think the line is kind of different for every person.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'll see things that I think are super clever, and I'll hear people scream fan service, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Like, I think sometimes the line can really be blurred between being self-indulgent and I guess like fan indulgent, where you're just like throwing fans what you think they want at the expense of storytelling. I guess the problem is when it's at the expense of storytelling, right? But I think the lines can really be blurred between doing that and just adapting material well.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think Endgame is, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand it.
Yeah, I get some of that. Some of that I also just see as kind of, you know, decent payoffs, and there are, and again, I think this is one of those real subjective kind of things where some people are going to think that you're going too far by having so many references to your own material, and Eric felt that way, and I'm with you. I understand why he feels that way, but I felt like we were continuing to tell story. I felt like we kept pushing the story along as we were doing that, and I thought a lot of it was kind of earned. But the place where I think it's hardest to get away with is prequels. Because, and that's where it's very often it starts feeling like just straight up fan service and not like you're actually telling a story, and where it'll really take me out, where when a prequel is too informed by what is supposed to happen later chronologically. And I've always said this, sometimes it can just be good non-linear storytelling, where you have a really good specific reason to tell the story after you already know some things that happen in the future, and then that should inform the past. That's just good nonlinear storytelling. But too often it's, well, we ran out of material going forward, but we still want to milk some money out of this franchise, so we got to go backwards because going forward wouldn't make any sense. I mean, that's kind of the logic behind you know, the Lord of the Rings prequels, and even before Watchmen. You know, we're like, yeah, The Hobbit is a good idea to make one movie of for children, but when you already have that tone set, it's like, well, everyone's going to expect, and you're gonna what we had before, and it's gonna make more money if you do it the other way, and so it's got to be Lord of the Rings again with the Hobbit material, and So yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the Smallville thing, where like it feels like fan service because you keep winking at the audience. Where you're like, we know he's gonna wear a cape, so he's gonna talk about how he doesn't like capes, that kind of thing.
I'll tell you when it's always a bad idea.
Yeah,
Is when it's an entire scene that because it was in the first movie, you have to find some way to contrive that scene to happen again.
yeah.
Quicksilver, terrible.
All of Home Alone 2.
Yeah. That just happened in something I watched recently, and I can't remember what it was, but it was the exact same thing.
Much of Back to the Future 2, but then that becomes like an intentional formula. Like, once, by 3, I'm like, okay, I see what we're doing, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, and I'm maybe okay with repeating scenes like we are, because we're not trying to be realistic about it. But when you only had 2, it was more of a problem. Yeah, then we did it with 3, and I'm like, okay, now I kind of see what we're doing. But that was just sequels in the 80s and 90s a lot of the time.
Yeah. Agreed.
Christian Ogden puts in a $2 super chat and asks if I'm curious to see Swamp Thing. Yeah, I am. I've not seen the trailer yet. That came out yesterday or today, and I didn't get around to looking at it, so I can't talk about that. But I am definitely going to watch the first episode. I am really impressed with what the costume looks like, and just everything I'm hearing about that show. It sounds like those guys were just really excited to make that material. For whatever reason, I would have a hard time getting really stoked about making a Swamp Thing show. But it looks real moody, and like just from from that initial teaser and all the pictures we've had, and it's the most straight off the page you could possibly make Swamp Thing. Like, it looks really cool. I just hope they can win me over on the material and maybe want to see 10 whole episodes of it.
Yeah, I know nothing about Swamp Thing, but I've been looking at the pictures that they've been posting in the SSSS, and it looks really cool.
Kellen O'Rourke says how Xavier lost his hair in Apocalypse. Is that, or I mean, he's probably talking about a conversation he was having in there, but is that an example of obnoxious fan service? We do that kind of thing a lot with prequels. The losing his hair thing was the dumbest thing, but we did it with his losing his legs in First Class also, and I wanted to resist that more than I did, but it worked okay for the story they were telling. It seemed a little convenient that 2 weeks after Xavier and Magneto meet, he loses his legs, but
in the moment it's amazing.
Yeah, it was wonderfully dramatic, and it actually came out of that relationship. And so it doesn't feel as clever because it's consequences of that friendship not being what they wished it was, because as Magneto says, or because as the exchange goes, Magneto thinks that they want the same things. And no, my friend, we do not.
Great line.
DJ, why don't you throw me that other Mr. Roboto super chat, and then let's get into some pre-written stuff.
Will do. This seems to be in response to the whole Brightburn situation. Kat,
yeah.
Could you and the wife be able to raise a Superman?
Oh, that's quite a question. Nobody's ever asked me that. Well, I feel like it's sort of like the situation when you're on an airplane and there's only 2 of you, but there's only 1 parachute. Like, what do you do? I feel like I would have to be in that situation before I could answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
Because children are unpredictable. I mean, you can do your absolute level best, and your kids still not turn out the way you hoped he would. What I really thought. And, like, this isn't the reason I didn't like this movie. It's not like it had to go this way or I was going to hate Brightburn. But an angle, it didn't have much of an angle, which is part of the problem with it. But and it was kind of just a generic slasher movie that started with Superman. And its whole idea was, hey, bad Smallville. And that's what we had. But I thought an interesting direction to go with that, and I said this in the review, could have been, what if the Kents were exactly like traditional comic book Kents, and he still turned out bad? That could happen. You do your level best, and you raise your kid with the right values, and you teach him how to be a social animal and how to care about people, and you make sure that he's as empathetic as he can be and all of that, and you teach him to use his powers for good, and not. Maybe you should have not saved the bus. Maybe don't say that. And then maybe he gets in with the wrong crowd, and he turns out bad anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole nature and nurture argument, is that some people believe that I mean, a lot of people believe that even some kids, you can't steer them straight.
Well, if I could read anything in that movie at all, and I don't think it's thoughtful enough to even say that it's really doing this, but it is the and it's cynical about it, but it is the nurture thing, or I'm sorry, the nature thing before it's the nurture thing. It's like because in that movie the parents are good people, and he's kind of just given bad ideas by the spaceship. And you could read that as, well, he came from this other place and you can't change him. And so, like, it's not exactly genetic, but it could be a metaphor for that.
Did you ever see last year the documentary Three Identical Strangers? Last year was an amazing year for documentaries. Of course, Won't You Be My Neighbor, but Three Identical Strangers I loved. It was about, you think it's just about three twins who never met, who were separated at birth, and they meet randomly at college, and it's crazy. But then it gets even deeper. There's like this weird government conspiracy that was like separating them and then studying them as they were kids. It was like part of a study. It's fascinating. If you get a chance to see it, I would definitely recommend it. Watch it on the plane. Yeah. And it gets into that whole nature nurture thing, because I won't spoil it, but things that happen later in the documentary.
With as much, and I mean, like, this is the human, hubris thing, right? We look at how much progress we've made, and we expect that we're more enlightened and we understand things better than we do. But it's hard to look at all the technological progress we've made in the last, over a century, and to not think by now we should have a better grasp of something as simple as how much of behavior is nature and how much of it is nurture. And the fact that we can still tell stories about that, and we can land on either side in nearly any situation, really tells you about how little we still understand ourselves. Great question. Really good question.
Really good question. We've got another super chat, but I'm going to do a pre-written first.
Let's do it, sir.
I say that. Okay, here we go. This is kind of topical. Blue Dragon 5, what two villains would you like to see in the Batman film? I know we've had some rumors, but
yeah,
I guess just take it off the table.
The last rumor I saw was like, did I see the rumor Catwoman and Penguin again in the same movie?
I did see the same rumor. I don't think it was confirmed.
That would be a weird choice, right? That you would just do those exact villains. That you'd think if you were going to do villains that have been in movies before, you'd pick two that weren't in the same film, that didn't meet each other last time. So that would be really strange. Man, who would I really want to see? Hugo Strange. I've always thought could carry a movie by himself, or you could do the Arkham City thing where he's and I guess the Batman Begins thing where he's kind of working for somebody else the whole time. Spoiler with Arkham City, it's the same person at the top in both of those things that someone is working for. It's great, and I still didn't call it and felt like an idiot that I didn't call that. But not as dumb as I felt when I was like, oh, that guy wasn't the real Ra's al Ghul. Okay. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. Hugo Strange is a big one. And then there's just villains that I would want to see done better than they were last time. Like I would like to see a Mr. Freeze movie at some point with like an actual Mr. Freeze. But yeah, go ahead.
For me, it's always Riddler. I'm not a Batman fan, but I am a huge Riddler fan. I love Riddler. He's exactly up my alley. I love riddles and clues, and especially because they're going the Batman. They want to do like this noir, like detective story. I think that's definitely the way to go.
He would make a lot of sense for that story. Yeah, and I think you could put. I also think Hugo Strange would make a lot of sense for a noir story too.
Also,
but,
yeah.
Black Mask. You have a Black Mask is good. Yeah. You have like a mystery that's also a psychological thriller. But yeah, Riddler's always been my favorite villain, and I think now's the time to do him in live action because people take him more seriously now than they ever have.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also, we talked about this the other night in the stream I did for the first part of Telltale Batman 2, and by the way, I'm going to be streaming that again soon, getting into the second chapter. But with that game, we were talking about how everybody kept calling him Jigsaw Riddler, and we kept talking about how we keep doing a like a really sociopathic, sadistic Riddler that seems to be based on those kind of horror films. And there's at least 3 things in extra media that have done that now. And if we did a live action Riddler in a movie, you'd want him to be probably kind of scary, but I don't know if I want to see, tortury Riddler again. That's what we did with Gotham, and that's what we did with Arkham, and that's what we did with Telltale, and I don't know exactly what other direction you go, but every time we do it, we act like it's the first time. Kind of.
Yeah. No, I think it can be plenty scary without being graphic and like a torturer. Like, just the power that he has, the manipulation that he's able to do, I think is what's scary about him. But here we go. Want me to do another? You want to go to the super chat, or you want to go?
Let's do another pre-written first, and then we'll go back to the super chat.
All right. Here's a off-the-wall one.
Yeah.
Captain Logan and DJ, thanks for including me. Should a live-action Freakazoid movie be rated R if it's supposed to be a family film for all ages? Well, no, if it's not if it's supposed to be a family film for all ages, but...
or did he mean, or should it be a family film for all ages? Maybe. Honestly, I think Freakazoid makes more sense as a more exclusionary for adults kind of movie, because it's so weird and out there and didn't seem to want children watching it in the first place. I mean, like, it really pushes the envelopes for what you can do on the WB in the early 90s. And I liked that show, but going back and watching the first couple episodes of it, I got it on DVD last year. I don't know why I liked that show. I guess just because it was wacky and crazy. But, like, I don't know how I would have understood anything it was doing. I don't really understand it now. But, yeah, I think you could do a really bizarre, kind of almost like psychedelic Freakazoid movie where it's almost like a drug-induced sort of thing, where it's just a super trippy, just 85 minutes of what did I just watch? That's what that should be. And I guess you could maybe sort of make that kid-friendly, but I don't think it would appeal as much to families and children. And if you made it for families, you probably have to water it down some and not let it be as absurd and insane and wild. It did not make sense that was on broadcast television. Like that looked like a thing that would have been on Adult Swim in 1999, like 6 years before Adult Swim, or 4 or 5 years before Adult Swim. I also think doing Freakazoid, if rights issues weren't an issue, I also think doing Freakazoid on Adult Swim makes more sense than doing a live-action Freakazoid.
Yeah, how weird would it be if the live-action version was more kid-appropriate than the animated version from the 90s? That would be...
I think it would be. It certainly wouldn't have some of the innuendo it has. There's some surprising, very glaring, clear sexual innuendo in that show, and
Wow.
and other things. It's great that they got to pass the censors somehow. But yeah, Eric and I just looked at each other. We were like, we watched this, and and I don't remember it like this because I know more than I did back then. Well, let's knock out that super chat, shall we?
All right, here we go. $5 from Thomas Edgehill. Have you seen the new Aladdin? If so, spoiler cast and thoughts? Also, you always make me laugh, and you look sharp as always, and gotta love technology.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate all those comments, and thanks for being so understanding. And again, everybody, we've got 41 viewers. We usually have around 50 or 60. The fact that this many people stuck around or looked at an alert on their phone and said, maybe they're actually broadcasting this time. I don't know. You guys are wonderful, and it's moments like this where I love what I do, but it's moments like this where I'm reminded, oh yeah, that's why I do this. You guys are just absolutely fantastic. So DJ saw Aladdin. I've not seen it yet, so we can't talk about it right now. But the plan right now, if everything works right, is I'm gonna go see it tomorrow, and DJ and I are gonna try to talk about it on Friday. Hopefully, we get our sound issues figured out because this is.
I don't want to be echoey during that.
Yeah, because this is the way I want to record that. But I may have to try to come up with some other way to do it. If not, anyway. So, what was the main question though, right? Was Aladdin? I don't know.
Yeah,
DJ
he was just giving you compliments.
DJ, I would say that that being a week late. I mean, I don't want to go a long time on it, but we'll probably be spoilery in it, and everybody knows what happens in Aladdin.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, it's the story. It's not like. But yeah, I was. I saw it. If I remember anything. By Friday, I will discuss it with Cap.
If you've never seen Aladdin, turn off your sound for the next 45 seconds, okay? If somehow you don't know what happens in that movie, in the original, turn off your sound for 45 seconds. DJ, I want somebody in that video to leave a comment and get angry when I say, so what'd you think about the part where Jafar becomes a genie? And it was like, oh my god, you spoiled the ending! I don't know, maybe the new one that doesn't happen. Maybe that's the spoiler. Maybe the spoiler is that Jafar doesn't become a genie.
Who knows? Who knows? Can I, if you'll allow me to be self-indulgent here for a second?
Okay, turn your sound back on. Turn it on. Turn your sound back on. Okay, go ahead, DJ.
You just scared the mess out of me. I thought I lost it.
Oh no, I was telling everybody to turn their sound back on if they turned it off for when I was spoiling Aladdin.
I thought you were talking to me. Okay, someone.
DJ, turn your sound on.
Somebody asked if I was in the next Spider-Man film, and they said I was great in Homecoming, which is hilarious because if you know what I was just an extra standing in the background welding in the shop class scene.
He was brilliant in his welding mask.
I have a fan who said I was great. But no, I was not in the second one. They didn't shoot it here in Georgia. They shot it most of it overseas. So kind of a bummer. But what are you going to do? I'm too old at this point anyway.
They didn't call you back. They weren't like, we need the welding kid. I saw a comment. Did we talk about this in the Captain Logan show, or was this just a comment I saw, a stray comment somewhere else? Somebody asked if you got dusted.
No, that was here because...
Was that here?
Yeah, that was here. We talked about it for a minute. I like to think I did.
That comment was hilarious. Yeah, because DJ, you are technically in the MCU.
Yeah. I'm welder number one.
There's a welding kid in the, and we say welding kid like that would have been your character's career, you know, or like he would have gone on to be I guess that could have happened. I guess he could have that could be the one thing he discovered in a class that he thought was just the bee's knees, and he became a welder.
No, I can tell you, since I was being him, he had no skill at welding. He was just welding the same piece of metal back and forth the entire time.
You know, imagine if that class, I'm thinking of other classes that could have been in, like home ec, and you find your calling. You're like, man, I'm cooking. I was gonna say cookies or something.
All right, we got another soup chat while we were rambling.
Underwater basket weaver number 2.
That would have been great if I made the credits. I would have made the credits if I was doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Super chat from Logan Dodd. Thoughts on Robert Pattinson as Batman? So back to the Batman thing.
So is it weird that this didn't come up last week at all?
Oh, did it not?
Huh! We didn't talk about this on Friday. Nobody brought it up, or if they did, it was only in the written questions, and Connor didn't get to it. But
okay.
Yeah, it didn't come up. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's weird. I would have figured everyone would be dying to know your opinion on it. Have you seen him in anything?
No, which is why I don't have anything insightful to say. I keep hearing people say he's in some art house movies. He's actually a real actor. If you've only seen the man in the Twilight movies, you don't know what his acting is like. And furthermore, he writes those movies off and he hates them, and he implores people to watch them in things that are actually good. I've heard, again, from Eric and other third parties, I've never watched him in anything, and I've never seen him in interviews, but I'm told that he seems to be a real down-to-earth guy, and again, that he's a real actor, and he's just got an acting career, and he's trying to, actually do a craft. So yeah, I'm very curious. I mean, that certainly wasn't on my or anybody else's radar. But you know what's really interesting about it? The assumption that every article I saw on this, and YouTube video and everything I saw on this, a headline or just even in headlines, assumed that the whole world would freak out about this and think that it was the worst idea ever. And I think people were afraid. I think for a lot of people that would have been the knee-jerk reaction if it hadn't been for Ben Affleck. You had a lot of people who freaked out about Affleck. Like, oh, did you see Daredevil? That's the worst pick. He couldn't be Batman. And the one thing that almost everyone could agree on, whether you loved or hated BVS, was that Ben Affleck was amazing. And everybody liked Ben Affleck as Batman. And so I think a lot of people were like, had kind of like a fool me once kind of attitude about it, where it was like, I don't want to be the idiot that claimed the world would end in 2012 and then the world kept going. So I'm not going to say Robert Pattinson as Batman is a bad idea. I'm going to say I'm going to be level-headed and I'm going to wait and see. And a lot of people who usually would, and probably people who lose their mind when they see bad CG in a trailer and they go, oh my God, that movie's going to be horrible just immediately. I bet a lot of those people were like, no, I'm going to have a wait and see attitude about Pattinson. I'm going to look so level-headed. Everybody said that. Nobody that I read was like, oh my God, that is the worst possible choice. Did you see the Twilight movies? Because they knew that that was the obvious reaction. And I think it's hilarious that like everybody has the same position on this, where they're like, no, let's just kind of wait and see. That absolutely cracks me up. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, well, I think there's
Hey,
two
look, Wild
positions.
Eric. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Wild Eric appeared. There are people who have seen all his indie movies and do have faith in him. And then the other was, I saw him in Water for Elephants, which wasn't really an indie movie, and he was pretty good in that. But there's some great movies that people keep recommending to me, apparently, that I need to see.
Well, I will check it out. I will check something that he's in out because I'm very curious now. But that's such a off the beaten path choice. I'm fascinated by it.
I mean, he looks like every time all the articles I saw, they were posting these old pictures with him with a beard and when he looked like he did in Twilight, but he doesn't look like that anymore. He looks like. And if you get modern pictures of him in a suit, like, he looks great. I don't know. All the posts are like, I guess because he had a Batman shirt on or something, they wanted to use that photo. You saw that photo, right?
Okay. Yeah, I saw that photo.
He looked. That was
it
like
didn't occur to me how old the photo was.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, well, I'll see. I'll see it.
Well, yeah, and David's right. He says Pattinson is 33 years old. He's not exactly a young Batman. He's older than Bale was. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think he's the right age to play the part. And you could do a much younger Batman, certainly. But I mean, like, he's maybe not even a full 10 years younger than Affleck was when he got cast, because he was, or was he already 44, 45?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, he's maybe a decade younger.
Which we need, because
it's interesting.
Casting these people too old.
The only thing I'll say about that is I might have liked a no-name again, somebody I've never seen in anything and didn't have any kind of preconceived notions of whatsoever. But this is the next best thing of that for me, because I've never seen him in a real movie.
Yeah, me neither. I've seen that one thing, but yeah, I'm with you. No Name would have been good. I mean, Christian Bale wasn't a no name, but that was what made him huge.
Yeah, it worked for me because I'd never seen him in anything. That's the thing, is that, like, you know, a no name's only a no name if you've never seen them in anything. Because a lot of the time, all no name means is not a movie star yet. You know, like, usually you have to have some kind of a track record to get cast in something that high profile.
If you haven't seen him, he's a no name to you.
I mean, that wasn't the case, I suppose, as much with Christopher Reeve. I mean, he didn't have much of a track record.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think we got another super chat.
Oh, cool.
From King John Targaryen? King John Targaryen. I don't know that name. Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that person either. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the super chat. Go ahead.
Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins, done very similar to John Wick, World of the Continental.
Yeah.
High Table, Halle... Hold on, let me put a comma there. High Table, Halle Berry was so Talia in John Wick 3. So
interesting. Okay, so I thought the point he was going to make is it would be cool to see another like League of Shadows, League of Assassins done sort of like that. I guess he's saying that the whole high table concept is a little bit like League of Assassins. Yeah, I can see why you're saying that. It's a little different because you have a secret society that is kind of running a lot of things in the background and more people are aware of them. Like League of Shadows / League of Assassins is a little bit more of like they're more of an underground organization that's like farther away and they're still pulling strings and stuff, but like the whole world doesn't seem to revolve around them as much. Like I would liken the High Table a little bit more like Court of the Owls, except they're not so much of a cult. But I think that's a little bit of a stronger comparison.
Yeah, I think he was asking what your opinion would be if they did the League of Assassins like that in a Batman movie.
Oh, I mean, that could be cool. But if you did it now, it would just look like you were ripping off John Wick.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes. Star Wars rips off John Carter, and then John Carter does it, and they say it's ripping off Star Wars. So
That's true. But I still question whether it would have gotten as much flack for that if more people knew what it was when they walked in, because to not put Mars in that title is preposterous. I've still never seen that movie, but every time it comes up, I feel the need. Every time it comes up, I feel the need to say that it's really stupid that movie. I think you immediately gain another at least $10-20 million if you just put Mars in the title.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they were trying to stay away from the Mars curse.
They said what I read was that the producers would worry it wouldn't appeal to women. And I don't know how many women went to that anyway. So, yeah.
What does John Carter appeal to? It's just a name.
Yeah. How many women are looking at are like watching previews for movies in the movie theater, and they just see a man's name and they check it off their list. They're like, I go to movies with men's name in the title. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Maybe it's a Dear John Carter.
That also was barely a sentence that I just said, but I digress. Go ahead.
I'm gonna hop over to a pre-written from Rockman LP. Welcome, or not welcome. Hello, Rockman LP, if you're still with us.
But also welcome.
He'd like to hear Cap's thoughts on the Tick being canceled and the Star Trek Picard teaser. I don't know if you talked about this stuff last week.
That also didn't come up last Friday, which absolutely boggled my mind. Yeah, so let's start at the Picard teaser. In fact, Eric and I mentioned at the beginning, we were like, we'll talk about that later. Then it never happened. There are two things that I wish I could somehow make myself stop ever saying in a video. The first one is, we'll be brief. And the second one is, we'll talk about that later. Because half the time it never comes back up, and you'll occasionally see a comment that's like, yeah, you never said that later. And then people will be like, you should make sure and do timestamps for, and I do a lot of timestamps, make sure and do timestamps for every video, so that if you say that I don't see the timestamp, I'll know it's not in the video. But anyway, so I want to be more excited about the Picard show than I am. It's the same producers and a lot of the same staff working on that are making Discovery, and I just don't think the writing's good. And whatever continuity is, whatever, if it doesn't make sense with TNG and stuff, I'm not going to care as much. If the writing is good, but I feel like these things are being made by people who just don't get Star Trek, that maybe like Star Trek but don't understand it, don't understand how to write it. The Discovery has been so ultra fanficky and started off real super cynical and then got real kind of manufactured optimistic and almost pseudo wholesome, where it started as like, let's be really super dark Star Trek and let's be TVMA. And I swear to God, that show has some episodes. It has different ratings for different episodes. Like, some episodes are TVMA, some are teens. So like the whole second season doesn't have any of a lot of the super ultra dark stuff that was in the first season, even though it still is trying to be moody like that. I digress. These are not the people that I want to see making a show starring Picard with. Sorry, I was just being distracted by the comments because a man is in the comments that I admire and adore a lot, that I've not seen anywhere on our channel in a long time. The Review Spot is here. Hello,
Whoa.
Review Spot. It's so cool to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in. Anyway, so that distracted me. Review Spot.
Amazing. I love Review
That
Spot.
gave me goosebumps. I love Review Spot. Check out Review Spot if you've never seen this channel. He is still doing action figure reviews. He's been doing this for longer than I have, and he still goes on a daily basis. It's so good to see you, Review Spot. Yeah, you just missed me talking about Discovery. Well, I've got an hour and 15-minute spoiler cast for the second season, so if you've got a long trip to take, feel free to listen to that. You might enjoy it, unless you really, really love that show. Oh, no, okay, fine. Go ahead and listen to them. Go ahead and listen to my review. but anyway, so, a 1-minute teaser. And that show, and they managed to make me roll my eyes, DJ. They're doing the whole like elderly Picard in the vineyard thing, and they show Chateau Picard. We were talking about fan service earlier. That strikes me as very fan servicey. Not that it's bad, but just where it's like, no, guys, really, we know things about Picard. We watch TNG. We know stuff about Picard. the writing with the voiceover is just as sappy as Discovery always is. Like, right away, the first thing you hear is years ago, you pulled us out of the darkness. I'm like, could we please just, like, talk like normal people every once in a while and not just constantly spew platitudes and maybe, like, just have events happen and then let the viewers decide what it might be a discussion of or a metaphor of or whatever. Could we maybe do that? Could we do what writing is generally about, which is you write a thing and imply something, and then I, the viewer or the reader, infer it. Yeah, so they managed to make me roll my eyes with the writing in just a minute and 10-second teaser. It's cool that the TNG theme was subtly there at the end. That makes me think that they might be doing more stuff directly tied to TNG than I thought they might. I also think it's possible that in that whole 10 episodes we never hear mention of any character we've ever heard of before. Even dealing with an 80-something-year-old Picard. I think it would be really funny if he never brought up Riker, never brought up Data. Just these characters don't exist. And I also think Star Trek Picard is a stupid name for a series. If it was just Picard, maybe it's okay, but, like, really? When that was announced, a lot of people were like, oh, I wonder what it'll be called, you know? Surely it'll be, like, the name of a ship or place or something, you know? At least it wasn't called Star Trek Chateau Picard.
I guess they didn't want to do exactly the Logan thing.
That's a great point. But they should have, though, because it does look like they're kind of trying to rip off Logan, and they're trying to do a more kind of, darker, angstier Picard. He's been through some stuff. He saved us from some horrible thing, probably entirely single-handedly, because we're probably going to treat him like he's the most important thing in the universe, just like Michael Burnham, except, we had to write her into the future. Spoiler alert. For Discovery Season 2.
That's like if they called it X-Men Logan.
Yeah, it would be like that. You would tell, like, old man Picard.
They think the audiences are dumb. Like, they did it with Pikachu, too. It's called, like, Pokemon Presents Detective Pikachu or something. Like, they have to put the famous name in there, so...
with Detective Pikachu, though, I that's different. Or I want to think that's different. We almost need more stuff before we can say that.
The universe.
That movie... I will give them credit for that, and I did in my review too. I liked that. Detective Pikachu is in... What's that?
I was just saying I really want to see it.
Detective Pikachu is in big letters. Above that is Pokemon, much smaller, and I don't think it's even a colon. I think it just put Pokemon above it. And if it was a franchise starter and it was doing like a Pokemon shared universe, that's like putting Marvel on top of it, man. Like I think it makes a lot of sense to do that, and it lent credibility once I saw the movie, because I went, well, yeah, you guys made a Pokemon movie. Like, a lot of people were worried it wasn't even going to feel like it was in that world, and I said this when I reviewed it, but it doesn't even feel like an adaptation of Pokemon stuff. It just feels like a live-action movie set squarely in the world of Pokemon that you've been in before if you've ever watched Pokemon stuff, and it's like a direct sequel to Pokemon the first movie, set 20 years later, and they talk about the events of that like it happened 20 years ago. It's really fun. And so yeah, no, I like the Pokemons in the title because they earned it. They made a Pokemon movie.
Yeah, and if we get like a universe of that, I think it'll be good. It's just like, it immediately makes me think of like Hunger Games Catching Fire. Like, you can't just call it the second book, you have to put the first book's name in it again, and same thing with Twilight movies, and it's weird, just for recognition. I understand why they do it.
Yeah, that's fair. But going the other way, with specifically the Pokemon thing, a lot of people, when they saw Detective Pikachu, they were like, oh, so you guys are afraid to make a Pokemon movie. And so in that particular instance, it needed the name in it. But I'm only saying that because I saw it and I liked it okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like genius or nothing, but I liked it.
Did you want to touch on the second half about the tick, or do you want to go on to the super?
I'm sorry. I've been talking about this particular comment for far too long, but somebody brought up current Star Trek, and I run away with myself. So I talked a little bit about the tick cancellation somewhere. Didn't I? Did I bring this up? Didn't this come up in the first Captain Logan show of the relaunch? I don't remember.
It may have.
Yeah, it's certainly sad, of course, that it got canceled. It's even worse because it didn't get an ending and because so much stuff was being set up. in the second season, but also because so much stuff was set up before that we barely touched on in season 2. Mine and Eric's big complaint about that season. Enjoyed it thoroughly. A lot of fun. Did not feel like a whole season. It's 10 episodes. It had plenty of real estate to do a whole season, and there is a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it feels like where they get to story-wise is where they might have gotten to halfway through a season. And there's so much fun setup and a cliffhanger at the end of that season. And spoiler alert for that show, because they make this a big reveal, but the majority of people won't even know what this means, but they were setting up Freakazoid. And Freakazoid is my favorite tick villain, and I was so excited about it. And you get the tentacles, they start popping out. And for some reason, I lost it. And so did Jason. And he and I were just both like, oh my God, we just lost our minds. What's really funny is, for some reason, Freakazoid felt the need to say his own name just so any audience that has ever heard of Freakazoid would know what that was. So, like, Freakazoid from another dimension, he sticks his tentacles through a tiny black hole, and then he goes, Freakazoid! And I'm like, why would you say your own name, Freakazoid? I don't understand that. If we never get to see that, I'm going to be sad, especially because Ben Edlund made a big deal out of new versions of characters that if you're a Tick fan you've heard before season 2 came out, and that's the one he was talking about apparently, because there's nobody else. And it was just a quick reference at the end to tell you kind of what was coming later, and that's all set up at the beginning of the season, but like he's in the background. You don't know it's Freakazoid until the last 5 minutes of the season. So yeah, it's gonna suck if we never get to see that. He's shopping it around. It's not an expensive show to make. It would be weird if it's shot to Netflix, it would be weird if Netflix didn't pick it up, because they greenlight so much stuff that's really inexpensive and that fewer people have to be watching than we're watching the Tick. So I don't know, like if they don't get it, or if Hulu doesn't get it, I would be kind of surprised at this point, honestly. I think Amazon is so trepidatious about greenlighting stuff in the first place, and they seem to keep not being totally sure if they want to be a network and compete on the same level as Netflix and other places. So I'm not completely surprised this happened, but it's gonna suck and hurt my feelings if we don't get at least one more season to wrap some stuff up. Because this was the one place where we might have finally actually done a Tick origin, and where I would have been okay with the Tick origin, and we kept giving hints and stuff, and we may never see that now. But anyway, okay. Do we have some more super chats? Should we maybe go to that place? Yeah. We got another 15 minutes or so if we're doing a regular length show. And then I want to show you guys some stuff here in a minute. Why don't we do a super chat, and then I have some items I have some new acquisitions to show. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. We'll try to keep these brief. David Crabtree, overall thoughts on the Orville season 2?
It's wonderful. The end. That's what I have to say. No, I've not done a full spoiler cast on that. Eric and I were reviewing it as it was coming out, and I didn't really feel the need to sit down and revisit a lot of that. We didn't talk about the last 2 or 3 episodes in the two-parter that it did at the end of the season. But that show has become exactly what I was hoping it would, which is it still tells really good standalone episodes, but it's also gotten more arcy, but it's an easy thing to sit down and watch most of the time, even if you haven't seen anything before it, except, of course, in the middle of the two-parter. But the big complaint initially at the start of season 2, and I was complaining about this into the mid-season, until we got the big, glorious piece of artwork that was the two-parter in the middle with the Kalon. Just some of the best science fiction I've ever seen on television. I go that far. I just think it's brilliant. Before we got to that, I kept saying, yeah, I see why people keep saying that it's just more TNG, and I don't think it's fair to say that that's totally outmoded and you can't do just regular episodic television, but we're also not really pushing envelopes, and we're telling some really thoughtful stories, and we're talking about some really interesting topical social issues and stuff, and so maybe it should, because the closest thing to real Star Trek we have right now, and they get Star Trek in a way that the people making Star Trek don't. Wouldn't it be nice if we were also pushing the envelopes of storytelling and things that you can do on network television? And they're beginning to finally do some of that, which I really, really appreciate. We are not keeping the same status quo. We are finally dealing with the galactic politics of this universe, and we keep doing really cool pastiches and mashups of different Trek episodes, and not only always TNG. We go to DS9, we go to Voyager, we keep pulling from all kinds of TOS, we keep pulling from different places, and we'll sometimes just like straight up, like they did an episode. This is the first part of the two-parter at the end of the season. And by the way, I really enjoyed that because I didn't know it was a two-parter because it had two different episode titles, but it is a squared-up two-parter, and that's always fun. But it's second chances from TNG mixed with a couple of other episodes, and when they'll do a thing like that where you're like, oh, this is just this episode, like they do like a minuet episode where one of the crew members falls in love with a hologram, and you're like, well, I know where this will probably go. And then you're like, oh, they're not doing the exact TNG thing. And then you figure they'll do the opposite. And then you think you really know where they'll go. Because you're like, okay, well, they'll just turn it on its head, right? And then it'll turn out to be about something else entirely. And it's so thoughtful. It's wonderful. They've also finally really nailed their mix of comedy and drama. And it's like they had to pitch it as a sitcom at the beginning to get Fox to even pick it up. And then slowly but surely they've been getting away from that, and so it's still very funny, but there are a lot of episodes at this point that aren't any more comedic than your standard TNG episode that would kind of occasionally interrupt itself with a joke, which Star Trek does. So yeah, it's wonderful. I think it's quite brilliant. And I'm not saying that it's brilliant because I'm not liking Discovery, okay? Because I have certainly had my complaints with it, but I'm really loving the direction it's going in at the moment. Okay, DJ, we got about 10 minutes. You said let's make this brief. That was my fault that went that long, but I had things to say. Okay, I got new pop figures. The 40th. Yes, it's the 1980s right now. The 80th anniversary of Batman is this year, and Funko, of course, wanted to milk it and force me to spend more money with them, and I collect every Batman pop figure because I'm a crazy person, and so I bought most of the 80th anniversary pops that have come out so far. There's another one or two coming out at the end of June or July, and then there's one or two more in October. One of them is, there's a couple more dioramas that are coming. There's a 60s Batman one that's Batman and Robin on a roof, or is it a cover from the 40s? It's one of those, I can't remember. And then there is another one that's a Batman, this is the one I'm most excited about. There's a Batman 89 one that's Batman and Joker on the roof at the end of 89, but with Batman punching him with glasses. He's got the glasses. It's great. But anyway, so here's the ones I've got so far. So I got the one diorama one that they've put out so far. I'm not in love with this or anything. I thought it was a really strange choice. This is a Jim Lee pastiche. This is supposed to be the big one-page spread, that the big splash page in, I think, New 52 Justice League #1 with Green Lantern standing over Batman. I don't know why we did that. Let's not pretend like that's more iconic than it is. Like, I don't know why we did that, but I bought it because I buy these, so whatever. This one's great. I haven't bought a lot of these cars because I just buy Batman, and I haven't bought the 60s Batmobile yet because it didn't come with I don't think with an actual new pop figure. But there's the 50s car, and it's awesome.
Oh, awesome. Wow.
Yep. It's super fun. And then there's 1938 Batman with his arms folded. There is another one of these in a different pose, which came out years ago, and I have that one, but they have this one now with his arms folded, and of course he's got the purple gloves. And then this is my favorite. This might be my new favorite pop figure in general. Here's the straight up Batman 89 pop figure. A lot of people said, well, didn't they already make a Batman 89 pop figure? And I'm like, well, they made one that looks sort of like that suit, but it's not exactly Batman 89 because it doesn't have that bat and it doesn't have that belt. And yeah, to anyone that's like, well, they already made that figure, I'm like, no, look at it. Like, this is Michael Keaton. They finally did a Keaton figure. And I didn't mention this, but one of the ones coming out later this year is a Val Kilmer Batman Forever figure, and I'm really excited about that. Wow. I would show you guys pictures of some of those things, but I'm afraid to touch my computer right now. After some of the issues we had earlier. Yeah. So, Cinematographic says, does that come with a Warner Brothers ball cap? No, but that gag needs to be done. Somebody needs to do that. Somebody needs to put out a Batman 89 Blu-ray that comes with a Warner Brothers ball cap.
I'm surprised the Lego movies didn't do it, or one of them.
I would buy that in a heartbeat, or at least do that joke, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant, the joke in one of the movies.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, I want to show you that stuff. And then, well, we've only got 5 minutes left. Okay, I bought some comics the other day I want to show you guys too, but I think I'm going to save those and do those on another show because I want to make sure that we get through more stuff. How many more Super Chats do we have, DJ?
We have 2 left.
Okay, let's go ahead and do another pre-written, and then we'll knock those 2 out.
All right, pre-written. Let me hop on here.
DJ's got a video lag for some reason. I don't know why. He's responding immediately. I'm getting his audio on time.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't look at myself because it's like a 5-second delay.
Yeah, you said that was happening to you earlier, but it wasn't happening on this end, but now it is.
Oh, who knows? Cap, do you feel as though comic book films not associated directly with the MCU or Marvel in general are being discriminated against / judged unfairly by critics / fans to an extent?
That's interesting. You know, that's not a thing I've heard, I've thought a lot about, so I hesitate to immediately say no, but the idea that critics might be harder on other comic book movies because the MCU has taken over so much and they think of that as the gold standard is certainly a thing that could be going on. In my circles, just... I mean, like this is just totally circumstantial and just, you know, not a great sample set. But not talking about professional critics, just in my circles with people I talk to and other reviewers I know and stuff, it seems like almost the opposite is happening. I'm hearing a lot more like people are getting more critical of the MCU than they ever have been, which is probably a good thing. And we hear a lot of people that are, you know, almost turning on the MCU because they feel like it's gotten really too formulaic and they're just kind of tired of those movies and they want something new. They just want to see some other things. And so when when a movie comes out that's based on a comic that they really like that's not Marvel or not MCU anyway, they tend to want to really give it the benefit of the doubt because they've got the superhero fatigue thing. They've got the I'm burnt out. I know Dan Torrey's like this to some degree. I don't mean to speak for Dan, but he said this on the channel that he's kind of burnt out on superhero movies in general and is hit and miss on what MCU movies he'll even go to now. So I think a lot of people really are wanting to really root for DC and other companies now that we've gotten past, you know, the BVS Justice League thing, hoping for a new flavor and some new things. But with mainstream critics, I think some of that might be happening. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was by someone named TSV.
TSV, I think I've seen before. And by the way, I want to give props to TSV because he was in the comments like an hour and a half or 2 hours ago when we were trying to get this thing going earlier, and he's been waiting for this all night. And so super nice of him to stick around.
Glad I asked this question.
I honestly didn't think we would ever be broadcasting.
Well, he might not be here now. That I took that question a long time ago.
Okay, well, it was nice of him to be here earlier.
Yeah,
let me answer a question real quick from Review Spot, because it was so nice of him to pop in. Are you hoping we get the Snyder Cut? I'm not convinced such a thing exists. The more I'm hearing about it, there's just no way to know. If it does, obviously, I'd love to see it. Just for the sake of history and to know what Warner's or what I should say Whedon was having to work with when he tried to salvage it and fix it for the studio, or at least give them what they wanted. I'd love to know what Snyder shot. it's impossible to believe that Snyder shot 100% of the movie that he was going to make, especially because of what happened with his daughter and why he left. So it would be a Donner situation, even if there was a Snyder cut, where you would probably still have to use some of the stuff Whedon shot. I would think. I mean, I don't know anything really, but just from what little we do know, I would assume that you'd still have to cobble something together. But there's probably stuff left on the cutting room floor that he never that movie didn't actually use. But the people who really, really want to see the Snyder Cut, especially the people who loved BVS and like that style, and don't want to see it like ironically or just for the sake of history, but actually think that's a good movie and is better than Justice League, a lot of those people are talking about it like there is a 100% finished cut, that like all of the special effects are done, there's nothing left to do, and Warner's just sitting on it and they won't release it. I find that highly unlikely.
Yeah. Because they wouldn't have put all the money into doing those special effects.
Yeah.
There's no way.
They're not going to do that now. I could see the Donner cut thing happening 30 years from now, but not right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, if such a thing existed, of course, I'd love to see it. How many more super chats do we have?
We only have 2 still.
Oh, and Review Spot says Snyder said he had a finished version, so I don't know what to believe. I hadn't heard that. I mean, I know he said he shot stuff that wasn't used, but if he says he actually had a complete finished copy, I still don't know how all the effects would have been done. So yeah, no, I'm with you. It's really hard to know what to believe. Yeah. Thanks for the question, and I'm so excited to see Review Spot. Okay, let's do the other super chats, and we are already over time, so let's knock those out. And once again, as always, thanks for all the questions, guys, and thanks for the support from the super chatters. Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. Did Nixon get impeached, or is he in Watchmen HBO?
Oh, Danny Nixon?
I think
or are we talking about
President Nixon?
Are we talking about President Nixon? Oh, I thought that was a joke about Danny Nixon.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But he is asking, I don't know.
Richard Nixon, who knows? I guess they'll tell us. I guess they'll tell us if he got impeached or not. I mean, it would be crazy if he was still the president. I think that would just almost be too silly even for that material, right? Like,
yeah, because he's already served 4 in Watchmen, right?
Yeah, but if they change the rules where you could be president for life,
yeah,
and he's like 90,
the king. Because we don't know how far this is after that, right?
Yeah, I don't think we do. How old would Richard Nixon be now if he was still alive?
No idea.
I'd have to go back and look and see, because like I think that puts him old enough. It's hard to believe he would even still be there. But yeah, oh no, Mr. Roboto says yes, it is about Danny Nixon. Yeah, okay. I don't know what's going on with Danny. I haven't heard from him in a long time. He's always welcome to come back. I haven't talked to him. So it's I miss him. It's unfortunate. I'm not sure what's going on, but I have not been able to get a hold of him. So I hope he's doing okay. But yeah, the only reason he's not here is because he hasn't sent me any messages. I haven't talked to him. Daniel says he would be 105 years old.
Interesting.
So yeah, if they don't do some big Trump thing, I'll be real surprised. It's low-hanging fruit. That's what everybody does. And I'm not saying you couldn't do it well. I'm just saying that's what everybody does.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware that was taking place in modern day.
That's what it looks like from the trailers. And when I say we don't know for sure, I just mean it could be kind of ambiguous, although that would be weird to do with Watchmen because that was always an alternate history.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got one more.
We have one more? All right.
King John Targaryen, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. How do we actually do the New Gods on film? Question mark. Thanos question, is it me or was Thanos more like Ra's al Ghul eco-terrorist in terms of restoring balance? So 2 questions.
Yeah, well, you're right about the Thanos thing, and that he's not really as power hungry, although the power does seem to get to his head and causes some kind of sadism. And I've talked about this before, but those 2 things don't completely mesh to me, and I can't decide how psychotic they have really decided that Thanos is. Because on the one hand, he does all that stuff that he does to Nebula, and he's talked about as a sadist, but then on the other hand, we're supposed to sympathize with him to some degree. And I don't think, and I'm not saying that you can't do both, I just don't think they know where the line is. So yeah, but as far as the New Gods thing goes, do you just mean like, how do you not make it like a giant like CG mess, or what? Because yeah, I mean, like it is hard not to do just a big green screen fest and hope that it all looks like it's actually there. I mean, New Gods does sound like a difficult thing to put on screen, but not impossible if you're careful with it. I would just hope it didn't have too many CG characters. And I thought maybe that's why you brought up Thanos, because that's a cosmic being that we had to CG and try to make look as realistic as possible.
Yep.
But yeah, is that everything?
That is the last super chat. If you want to close out on one more.
Yeah, we can go ahead and knock out another pre-written if you've got the time, sure.
All right. I'm trying to think of something that's a little more definitive. It's not just another news question.
Okay, yeah, but if it's like super existential, we're just not going to have time.
Cap, at what point do you think the network television audiences will say enough with the condescending narration that tells us the theme of the episode every time?
Man, I don't know. Never? Because you'd think it would have happened by now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I've been saying it for 20 years. Let's quit doing that. And it's not just television. I mean, movies still do it too. But yeah, no, enough is really enough with that. And at the very least, hire actors that are as good at delivering that as they are at delivering regular dialogue. Because usually when we get that, especially in, I know I always throw this under the bus, but it's in every one of them, CW superhero shows, most of their actors also just don't do it well. Where, like, it sounds like they're just sitting in front of a microphone in a booth being fed, copy. Like, doesn't sound like they're acting. So there's that. I mean, I'm already not taking it seriously, and it takes me out because it just sounds like, somebody reading, just imagining what it would have been like to be on like a 40s radio play. But it's it's intrusive, and it can be insulting to your intelligence, and it's a way to, very often it's a way to wrap up ideas that weren't really wrapped up well themselves. Sometimes it's a cheat to try to say, like, look, we explored this idea, and this is where we came to. We're restating a thesis, and this is where we got to. The worst offender of it, and I've talked about this already this evening, and I know I'm real hard on the show, but Discovery is the worst about it. Sometimes, and I know that to some degree that's kind of what Captain's logs were for, but exposition, not to tell you what the whole episode is about. And like, just the sappiest logs, where it's like they know there's an audience watching, and we need them to tell us what the episode was about. Sometimes they don't even give you the context of the log. Like, sometimes it's like, why is this person talking to me right now? We don't. Whenever there's finally a start date, I'm like, oh, so it is was it always a log? Was it sometimes more like House of Cards? They're just off screen? I don't know what's going on.
Like, what is the point of it? Do they not have faith in their own ability to convey the themes, or do they not have faith in the audience to understand them?
I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. Okay,
because you never see like the confident shows do it. Anyway.
No, very rarely have I seen that material that I thought was too good for it, although it happens. My go-to example, this is another superhero thing, is Constantine. Constantine was too good for that, and they do it at the very end because they had to do some reshooting, and they kind of changed the ending a little bit, and then they felt the need to overcompensate by giving you a resolution and a moral that was not really what the movie got to. So, oh wait, that's what you think this is about? Okay. But the rest of the movie was too good for that, and really didn't need that. And also, I don't remember. Maybe that movie opened with voiceover. I don't remember. Anyway, well, we're going to go ahead and get going. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. This was a really weird show, but we got through it. We managed it. Hopefully, we will have some of the technical snafus figured out next time. I was able to broadcast finally, so that's good. Should be okay on that end next time. Fingers crossed. But this whole audio thing, I'll go back and see what DJ sounds like and see if this will be a solution if the regular thing doesn't work next time. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. Once again, Review Spot, thanks for being here, buddy. He's heading off now. And thanks again for everybody's questions and for super chats and for your time and especially for some of you guys' entire evening. We really appreciate you. DJ, you're awesome. Thanks for doing it, man.
Yeah, it's been an adventure tonight.
It really has. More reviews later on this week on Geekvolution, and DJ and I will be back with you again next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, barring catastrophe. In the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and this was DJ.
Good night.
See you later, folks.